Crash landing and first contact. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before Captain Sarah Chen as she piloted the Stargazer, a small research vessel, through the uncharted regions of the Andromeda Galaxy. Her mission was simple: map unexplored star systems and search for signs of extraterrestrial life. After months of solitude, broken only by occasional communications with Earth, Sarah had grown accustomed to the quiet hum of the ship's engines and the gentle beeping of its instruments. As the Stargazer approached a promising solar system, Sarah's excitement grew. The ship's long-range scanners had detected unusual energy signatures emanating from the third planet orbiting a bright yellow star. Could this be the breakthrough she'd been hoping for? "Computer, begin approach vector to the third planet," Sarah commanded, her fingers dancing across the holographic control panel. The ship responded smoothly, adjusting its course to bring them closer to the mysterious world. As they entered the planet's upper atmosphere, Sarah's excitement turned to alarm. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit, and the ship began to shake violently. "Computer, what's happening?" Sarah shouted, struggling to maintain control of the vessel. "Warning, unknown energy field detected. Ship's systems malfunctioning. Prepare for emergency landing," the AI responded in its calm, emotionless voice. Sarah's heart raced as she fought against the failing controls. The lush green surface of the planet rushed up to meet her, and she braced for impact. With a deafening crash, the Stargazer plowed into a dense forest, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. When Sarah regained consciousness, she found herself hanging upside down in her safety harness. The cockpit was a mess of twisted metal and sparking wires. With shaking hands, she released the harness and dropped to the floor, wincing at the pain that shot through her body. "Computer, status report," she croaked, coughing as acrid smoke filled her lungs. Silence. The ship's systems were completely dead. Sarah knew she had to get out before the wreckage caught fire. She grabbed her emergency pack and stumbled towards the escape hatch, forcing it open with a grunt of effort. As she emerged from the ship, Sarah's eyes widened in awe. The forest around her was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Towering trees with iridescent leaves stretched hundreds of meters into the sky, their trunks wider than buildings. Strange, bioluminescent creatures flitted between the branches, casting an ethereal glow across the landscape. Sarah took a deep breath, relieved to find the air breathable. She activated her wrist-mounted computer, hoping to send a distress signal, but the device only emitted a faint buzz of static. Whatever had caused her ship to crash was also interfering with her communications. "Great," Sarah muttered, running a hand through her short, dark hair. Stranded on an alien planet with no way to call for help, just another day at the office. As she contemplated her next move, a low rumble shook the ground beneath her feet. At first, Sarah thought it might be an earthquake, but the rhythmic nature of the vibrations suggested something else entirely. Something big was moving through the forest, heading straight for her. Sarah's survival instincts kicked in. She quickly gathered her supplies and sought cover behind a massive tree root, her heart pounding in her chest. The rumbling grew louder, accompanied by the sound of snapping branches and rustling leaves. Suddenly, the forest canopy parted, and Sarah's jaw dropped in disbelief. Emerging from the trees was a woman, but not like any woman Sarah had ever seen. This being stood at least 20 meters tall, with skin that shimmered like polished bronze in the dappled sunlight. Her features were strikingly beautiful, a perfect blend of strength and grace. She wore clothing made from intricately woven plant fibers and adorned herself with jewelry crafted from what appeared to be precious metals and glowing crystals. The giantess's eyes, a deep emerald green, scanned the crash site before settling on Sarah's hiding place. With movements far more graceful than her size would suggest, she knelt down, bringing her face close to where Sarah crouched. "Hello, little one," the giantess spoke, her voice a melodious rumble that Sarah felt in her bones. "Do not be afraid. We mean you no harm." Sarah's scientific curiosity overrode her fear, and she stepped out from behind the root, craning her neck to meet the giantess's gaze. What are you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The giantess smiled, revealing perfect, pearlescent teeth. We are the Zirani, the guardians of this world. I am Elara, leader of our tribe. And you, small traveler, are the first outsider to visit our planet in many generations. As Elara spoke, more giant women emerged from the forest, each as tall and beautiful as their leader. They regarded Sarah with a mixture of curiosity and what seemed like hope. I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth research vessel Stargazer. Sarah introduced herself, trying to maintain her composure in the face of these awe-inspiring beings. My ship crashed, and I'm stranded here. I don't suppose you have any advanced technology that could help me send a message to my people. Elara's expression turned somber. I'm afraid not, Sarah Chen. Our people once possessed great technological wonders, but those days are long past. Now, we live in harmony with the forest, using only what nature provides. Sarah's heart sank at this news, but she refused to let despair overtake her. She was a scientist, an explorer, and now she had the opportunity to study an entirely new civilization. I understand, she said, squaring her shoulders. In that case, I'd be grateful for any assistance you can offer while I try to find a way home. Elara exchanged glances with the other Zirani women before turning back to Sarah. We would be honored to host you, Sarah Chen, but I must warn you, your arrival may be more significant than you realize. There is much we need to discuss. As Elara gently scooped Sarah into her enormous hand, the human couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. What did Elara mean by her arrival being significant? And why did all the Zirani women look at her with such desperate hope in their eyes? As they made their way through the forest, Sarah marveled at the Zirani's incredible agility. Despite their massive size, they moved through the dense vegetation with ease, careful not to disturb the flora and fauna around them. Sarah noticed that all the Zirani she saw were female, which piqued her curiosity even further. They soon arrived at a clearing where a breathtaking sight awaited them. Nestled among the towering trees was a village unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. Massive structures were seamlessly integrated into the living forest, with homes and communal spaces built into the trunks and canopies of the trees themselves. Bridges of woven vines connected various levels, and bioluminescent plants provided natural lighting throughout. Elara carefully set Sarah down on a large platform that seemed to serve as the village center. A crowd of Zirani women had gathered, their eyes wide with wonder as they beheld the tiny human in their midst. My sisters, Elara addressed the crowd, her voice carrying easily across the clearing. The stars have answered our prayers. A traveler from beyond our world has come to us in our time of need. A murmur of excitement rippled through the assembled Zirani. Sarah felt a twinge of unease at Elara's words. What exactly did they expect from her? As if sensing her discomfort, Elara knelt down once more to address Sarah directly. I apologize, Sarah Chen. You must be confused and overwhelmed. Please, allow me to explain our situation and why your arrival means so much to us. Sarah nodded, her scientific mind eager for answers despite her apprehension. I'm listening, she said, crossing her arms and looking up at Elara expectantly. Elara took a deep breath, her emerald eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and hope. Long ago, our people were a thriving civilization. We had achieved balance with nature while also mastering incredible technologies. But then a great calamity befell us. As Elara spoke, Sarah noticed holographic images appearing in the air around them, projected by some unseen technology. The images showed scenes of an advanced Zirani society, with both male and female giants working together in harmony. A terrible plague swept across our world, Elara continued, her voice heavy with emotion. It targeted only the males of our species, wiping them out completely within a single generation. We females were left unharmed, but without our male counterparts, we could no longer reproduce. The holographic images shifted, showing the devastation wrought by the plague and the sorrow of the surviving Zirani women. For centuries, we've searched for a cure, a way to restore our ability to bear children. We've tried everything within our power, but nothing has worked. Our numbers have dwindled, and we face the very real possibility of extinction. Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. An entire species on the brink of dying out, their fate seemingly sealed by a quirk of biology. But what did this have to do with her? As if reading her thoughts, Ilara continued, "There is an ancient prophecy among our people. It speaks of a day when a small traveler from the stars would arrive, bearing within them the key to our salvation." The Zirani women around them leaned in, their eyes fixed on Sarah with an intensity that made her shift uncomfortably. "Sarah Chen," Ilara said, her voice filled with reverence, "we believe you are that traveler. Your genetic material, so different from our own, may hold the secret to restoring our fertility and saving our species from extinction." Sarah's eyes widened as the full weight of Ilara's words hit her. They wanted her to help them reproduce, to father an entire species. The idea was so outlandish, so beyond anything she had ever considered, that she almost laughed out loud. I don't know what to say," Sarah stammered, trying to gather her thoughts. "I'm flattered that you think I can help, but I'm just a human. A woman at that. I don't see how I could possibly father children for your species." Ilara smiled gently, understanding Sarah's confusion. "Our scientists believe that with the right combination of your genetic material and our advanced biotechnology, we can create embryos that blend the best of both our species. These children would be the first of a new generation of Zirani, with the potential to save us all." Sarah's mind raced with the ethical implications of such an endeavor. On one hand, she was a scientist, driven by the pursuit of knowledge and the desire to help others. The opportunity to save an entire species was beyond anything she had ever dreamed of. On the other hand, the idea of using her genetic material to create a hybrid species raised countless moral and philosophical questions. "This is a lot to take in," Sarah said, running a hand through her hair. "I understand the gravity of your situation, but I need time to think about this. It's not a decision I can make lightly." Ilara nodded, respect evident in her expression. "Of course, Sarah Chen. We would never force you to help us against your will. Take all the time you need to consider our request. In the meantime, you are our honored guest. We will do everything in our power to make you comfortable and help you learn about our world and our people." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the forest canopy, Sarah found herself led to a specially prepared dwelling. It was a cozy space nestled within the trunk of an enormous tree, scaled down to accommodate her smaller size. Despite the primitive appearance of the Zirani village, the interior of her new home was surprisingly comfortable, with soft bedding, fresh water, and even some fruits and vegetables that Ilara assured her were safe for human consumption. Left alone with her thoughts, Sarah sank onto the bed, her mind whirling with everything she had learned. She had come to this planet seeking signs of alien life, and now she found herself in a position to potentially save an entire civilization from extinction. As she gazed out the window at the bioluminescent forest coming to life in the gathering darkness, Sarah knew that whatever decision she made would change not only her life, but the future of two species forever. The dilemma of destiny. As the twin moons of the Zirani world rose in the night sky, casting an ethereal glow over the forest canopy, Sarah Chen found herself unable to sleep. The weight of the decision before her pressed heavily on her mind, a constant reminder of the extraordinary situation she now faced. She stepped out onto the small balcony of her tree dwelling, marveling at the bioluminescent life that pulsed and shimmered in the darkness. Firefly-like creatures danced through the air, their lights blinking in mesmerizing patterns. In the distance, she could hear the low, melodious humming of the Zirani women, a haunting lullaby that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the forest. "Quite a view, isn't it?" a voice said from below, startling Sarah from her reverie. She looked down to see Ilara, the Zerani leader sitting cross-legged at the base of the tree. Even seated, the giantess's head was level with Sara's balcony. "It's breathtaking," Sara admitted, leaning on the railing. "I visited dozens of planets, but I've never seen anything like this." Ilara smiled, her emerald eyes twinkling in the moonlight. "Our world is unique, as I suspect yours is too. Each planet in the cosmos has its own beauty, its own mysteries." Sara nodded, then hesitated before asking Ilara, "Can you tell me more about your people, about your history? I feel like I need to understand everything before I can even begin to consider your request." The Zerani leader's expression grew solemn. "Of course, Sara. It's a long tale, filled with both triumph and tragedy. Are you comfortable? This may take some time." At Sara's nod, Ilara began her story, her voice taking on a rhythmic quality that reminded Sara of ancient storytellers on Earth. "Long ago, before the Great Plague, our people were known throughout this sector of the galaxy as the guardians of life. Our size and strength were matched only by our intellect and our deep connection to the natural world. We had mastered technologies that could heal entire ecosystems, terraform barren worlds, and even manipulate the basic building blocks of life itself." As Ilara spoke, the bioluminescent life around them seemed to respond, creating shifting patterns of light that illustrated her words. Sara watched in awe as entire galaxies appeared to swirl in the air before her. "We traveled the stars, not as conquerors, but as nurturers. Where we found worlds struggling to support life, we helped them flourish. Our greatest joy was in cultivating biodiversity and watching new civilizations take their first steps towards the stars." The light show shifted, showing silhouettes of Zerani working alongside other alien species, terraforming planets and cultivating lush gardens in once barren landscapes. But our mastery over life had consequences we could not foresee. On a distant world, we encountered a species that had all but destroyed their planet through warfare and unchecked industrialization. We offered our help, as we always had, but they saw our power as a threat. The bioluminescent display darkened, showing scenes of conflict and destruction. They attacked us with weapons we had never encountered before, bioengineered viruses designed to target our unique physiology. We were caught off guard, unprepared for such aggression. By the time we understood what was happening, it was too late. Sara's heart ached as she watched the light patterns depict the fall of the Zerani civilization. The proud, towering figures of male Zerani flickered and faded, leaving only the women behind. The virus spread rapidly through our population, targeting a specific gene found only in our males. Within a single generation, every male Zerani had perished. We quarantined ourselves, retreating to our homeworld to prevent the virus from spreading to other species. Ilara's voice cracked with emotion, and Sara found herself fighting back tears. We thought, at first, that we could overcome this tragedy. After all, we were masters of biotechnology and genetic manipulation. But the virus had done more than kill our males. It had fundamentally altered our genome. Try as we might, we could not undo the damage. We could not create new males, nor could we reproduce without them. The bioluminescent display showed generations of Zerani women working tirelessly in laboratories, their efforts always ending in failure. As the centuries passed, our numbers dwindled. We lost much of our advanced technology, focusing all our remaining resources on finding a cure. We became caretakers of our world, guardians of the life we had once spread throughout the stars, knowing that we might be the last generation to walk this forest. Ilara looked up at Sara, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "And then you arrived, Sara Chen, a being from another world, carrying within you genetic diversity we had thought lost forever. You represent hope for my people, a chance to combine your DNA with ours and create a new generation of Zerani who might be able to reproduce." Sara's mind reeled with the implications. The Zerani weren't just asking her to be a surrogate or a donor. They were asking her to help create an entirely new hybrid species. "But wouldn't that mean the end of the Zerani as you are now?" Sara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ilara nodded sullenly. In a way, yes, but it would also mean our continuation, our evolution. The children born of this union would carry our legacy, our connection to this world, and our duty as guardians of life. They would also carry something of your species, your adaptability, your resilience, your unique perspective on the universe. Sarah's scientific mind raced with questions. How would it even work? Our species are so different, the size difference alone is staggering. We still retain some of our biotechnology, Ilara explained. We believe we can use it to combine your genetic material with ours at a cellular level, creating embryos that would grow to a size between that of humans and Zirani. These children would be true bridges between our species. The concept was unprecedented, revolutionary, and more than a little frightening. Sarah found herself torn between her scientific curiosity, her empathy for the Zirani's plight, and her concern about the ethical implications of such an endeavor. What if it doesn't work? She asked. What if the children are infertile, or if there are unforeseen complications? Ilara's expression was one of grim determination. Then we will have tried. We will have taken our fate into our own hands rather than quietly fading into extinction. And perhaps, in the attempt, we will have forged a connection between our peoples that will outlast even our own lives. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, Sarah realized she had been talking with Ilara through the entire night. Her mind was buzzing with everything she had learned, every new piece of information adding another layer to the complex decision before her. I need to think, Sarah said finally, her voice hoarse from the long conversation. This isn't just about me, or even just about your people. If we do this, it could change the course of galactic history. Ilara nodded, rising to her full, imposing height. I understand, Sarah Chen. Take all the time you need. Explore our world, speak with our people. Let your heart and your mind guide you to the right decision. As the Zirani leader walked away, her footsteps sending small tremors through the ground, Sarah leaned heavily on the balcony railing. She had come to this planet as an explorer, seeking knowledge and the thrill of discovery. Now she found herself holding the fate of an entire species in her hands. The sun rose over the alien forest, its light catching the iridescent leaves and creating a dazzling display of color. Sarah watched it, feeling the weight of destiny upon her shoulders. Whatever she decided, she knew her life would never be the same again. In the coming days, Sarah immersed herself in Zirani culture, determined to understand every aspect of their society before making her decision. She spoke with their scientists, learning about the intricacies of their biotechnology and the challenges they faced in trying to restore their ability to reproduce. She spent time with the Zirani historians, poring over ancient texts and holographic records that detailed their species' long and storied past. The more she learned, the more she came to admire these gentle giants and the incredible legacy they carried. But it was her interactions with the younger Zirani that affected her most deeply. These women, born in the twilight of their civilization, carried a quiet sadness with them. They had grown up knowing they might be the last of their kind, but the rich culture and profound knowledge of their people might die with them. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah found herself becoming more and more integrated into Zirani society. She learned their language, participated in their rituals, and even began to assist in their scientific endeavors. The Zirani, in turn, were endlessly fascinated by her, peppered her with questions about Earth and human culture. One evening, as she sat with a group of Zirani around a massive bonfire, sharing stories and songs, Sarah realized something profound. She was no longer thinking of the Zirani as subjects to be studied or a problem to be solved. They had become her friends, her community. Their pain had become her pain, their hope her hope. As the firelight flickered across the faces of the Zirani women, Sarah made her decision. She would help them. Whatever the consequences, whatever the challenges, she couldn't stand by and watch this beautiful ancient species fade into oblivion. The next morning, she sought out Ilara. The Zirani leader was tending to a grove of massive, fruit-bearing trees, her enormous hands gently pruning branches that would have been entire trees on Earth. "Ilara," Sarah called out, her voice steady and determined. "I've made my decision." The giantess turned, her emerald eyes searching Sarah's face. "And what have you decided, Sarah Chen of Earth?" Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "I'll do it. I'll help your people. I don't know if it will work, and I don't know what the consequences will be, but I know I have to try." Ilara's face broke into a radiant smile, tears of joy welling in her eyes. She knelt down, bringing her face close to Sarah's. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "You give us hope, Sarah Chen. Whatever happens, know that you will always be honored among the Zirani." As news of Sarah's decision spread through the village, a wave of joy and excitement swept through the Zirani. Preparations began immediately, with their top scientists working around the clock to adapt their biotechnology to work with human DNA. Sarah threw herself into the work, her scientific training proving invaluable as they tackled the monumental task before them. Days blurred into weeks as they worked tirelessly, facing setback after setback but never giving up. Finally, after months of effort, they achieved their first success. In a nutrient bath carefully prepared with a blend of Zirani and human biologics, a tiny embryo began to grow. It was the first new Zirani life to come into existence in centuries. As Sarah stood with Ilara, watching the holographic projection of the developing embryo, she felt a mix of awe, pride, and trepidation. This was more than a scientific breakthrough. It was the dawn of a new era for both their species. "It's beautiful," Ilara whispered, her eyes fixed on the slowly rotating image. Sarah nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. The enormity of what they had accomplished, of what was still to come, overwhelmed her. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of pink and gold, Sarah and Ilara stood together, a human and a Zirani, united in their hope for the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as the guardians of a new form of life that bridged the gap between their two worlds. The dawn of a new day brought with it the promise of a future neither of them could have imagined, and as the embryo continued to grow and develop, Sarah knew that her greatest adventure was only just beginning. Guardians of a new dawn. As the first hybrid Zirani human embryo continued to develop, Sarah Chen found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. The once quiet forest village had transformed into a hub of scientific innovation and cultural revolution. Zirani from all over the planet flocked to witness the miracle growing in their midst, bringing with them a renewed sense of hope and purpose. Sarah stood before a holographic display, her eyes fixed on the slowly rotating image of the developing fetus. At just 3 months, it was already clear that this child would be unlike anything the universe had ever seen. The embryo showed signs of both Zirani and human characteristics, a perfect blend of two species separated by light years and eons of evolution. "Remarkable," breathed Dr. Zira, the lead Zirani geneticist. Her enormous fingers danced across the holographic controls, zooming in on specific features. "Look at the neural development, Sarah. It's far beyond what we'd expect at this stage." Sarah nodded, her scientific mind racing with the implications. The combination of Zirani cognitive structures and human neuroplasticity could result in intellectual capabilities we can't even imagine. As they studied the hologram, a commotion outside caught their attention. Sarah and Dr. Zira stepped out of the laboratory tree to find a crowd gathering in the village center. At its heart stood Ilara, her face etched with concern as she addressed a group of agitated Zirani. "What's going on?" Sarah asked, approaching the edge of the crowd. A young Zirani named Lyra, one of Sarah's most eager students, turned to her with wide eyes. "A scout has returned from the far reaches. She brings troubling news." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The far reaches were the most distant parts of Zirani territory, bordering on uncharted space. What could have happened out there to cause such a stir? As if in answer to her unspoken question, the crowd parted, revealing a battle-worn Zirani warrior. Her armor, typically pristine, was scorched and dented. She knelt before Elara, her voice carrying across the hushed gathering. "My leader, I bring grave tidings. The Void Horde has returned." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Sarah saw fear etched on every Zirani face, something she had never witnessed in these normally stoic giants. "The Void Horde," Sarah whispered to Lyra. "Who are they?" Lyra's voice trembled as she replied, "An ancient enemy, long thought defeated. They are consumers of worlds, destroyers of life." If they've returned, she couldn't finish the sentence. Elara's voice, strong and clear, cut through the growing panic. "Sisters, calm yourselves. We have faced the Void Horde before, and we will face them again. But now we have something we did not have in the past, hope for our future." All eyes turned to Sarah, and she felt the weight of their gaze like a physical force. Elara continued, "The child that grows even now represents more than just the continuation of our species. It represents a new strength, a union of Zirani wisdom and human adaptability. We will need both if we are to survive the coming storm." Sarah's mind raced. She had come to this world to explore, to learn. Now she found herself at the center of not just a biological revolution, but potentially an interstellar conflict. The scientist in her quailed at the thought, but another part, a part she hadn't known existed until she came to this world, rose to the challenge. Stepping forward, Sarah addressed the crowd, her voice small but unwavering. "I don't know much about your history with the Void Horde, but I do know this. Humanity has faced its own share of existential threats. We've stared into the abyss of our own extinction more than once, and each time, we've come back stronger." She gestured to the laboratory tree behind her. "What we're creating in there isn't just a child. It's a bridge between our species, a symbol of what we can achieve when we come together. The Void Horde may be powerful, but they've never faced anything like what we're becoming." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Elara smiled down at Sarah, pride shining in her emerald eyes. "Well spoken, Sarah Chen of Earth. Sisters, let us prepare. We have much work to do." As the Zirani dispersed, a new energy pulsing through the village, Elara knelt beside Sarah. "I fear we've pulled you into a conflict far beyond what you signed up for," the giantess said softly. Sarah squared her shoulders, meeting Elara's gaze. "I made my choice when I agreed to help your people. I'm not backing out now, no matter what comes." Over the following weeks, the Zirani village transformed. Ancient weapons were unearthed from hidden caches, their power sources reactivated after centuries of dormancy. Sarah watched in awe as the gentle giants she had come to know became fearsome warriors, their movements fluid and deadly as they trained. But it wasn't just martial preparations that occupied their time. Sarah and the Zirani scientists worked tirelessly, pushing the boundaries of their hybrid project. They theorized that the unique combination of Zirani and human genetics might hold the key to technologies that could turn the tide against the Void Horde. As the first hybrid child continued to grow, Sarah found herself working on multiple fronts. By day, she helped the Zirani scientists unravel the mysteries of their combined DNA. By night, she pored over ancient texts and battle strategies, determined to contribute in any way she could to the coming conflict. One evening, as twin moons rose over the forest canopy, Sarah stood on her balcony, watching the Zirani warriors train in the clearing below. Their movements were hypnotic, a deadly dance of power and grace. She felt a presence behind her and turned to find Elara, the Zirani leader's eyes reflecting the moonlight. "You should be resting," Elara said softly. "The days ahead will be challenging." Sarah smiled wryly. "I don't think I remember how to rest anymore. There's so much to do, so much to learn." Elara nodded, her gaze turning to the training warriors. "I've been meaning to ask you something, Sarah. Our scouts have managed to repair parts of your ship's communication system. We could send a message to your people, warn them of the Void Horde. You could leave, return to the safety of your world. Sarah felt a surge of homesickness at the thought of Earth, of her family and friends who must believe her lost. But as quickly as it came, the feeling passed. She looked up at Elara, her decision clear in her eyes. My place is here, she said firmly. Earth is my home, but so is this world now. The child we're creating, the future we're fighting for, it belongs to both our peoples. I won't abandon that. Elara's eyes shimmered with emotion. She reached out, gently placing a finger on Sarah's shoulder in a gesture of deep affection. You honor us with your courage, Sarah Chen. When this is over, I swear to you, we will find a way for you to contact your world. Your people should know of the hero that walks among them. As if in response to their conversation, a sudden commotion erupted from the laboratory tree. Sarah and Elara exchanged a quick glance before rushing towards the source of the excitement. They found Dr. Zira standing before the holographic display, her eyes wide with wonder. Look, she exclaimed as they entered. The fetus, it's changing. Sarah gasped as she saw the hologram. The hybrid child, now nearly fully developed, was enveloped in a soft, pulsating light. As they watched, its form shifted subtly, its features becoming more defined, more perfect. It's as if, Dr. Zira breathed, as if the child is adapting, even in the womb, optimizing its own genetics. Sarah's scientific mind raced with the implications. This level of self-directed evolution, it's unprecedented. If the child is born with this ability, it could be the key to our survival, Elara finished, her voice filled with awe. As the three of them stood there, watching the miracle unfold before their eyes, a distant rumble shook the ground. At first, Sarah thought it might be an earthquake, but the look of dread on Elara's face told her otherwise. They're here, Elara whispered, her voice tight with fear and determination. The Void Horde has found us. Sarah looked from the hologram of the developing child to the faces of her Zirani friends. In that moment, she knew that everything, her life, her future, the fate of two species, hung in the balance. The final battle for survival was about to begin, and at its heart was the impossible child she had helped create. As alarms began to sound throughout the village, Sarah steeled herself for what was to come. She was no warrior, no battle-hardened soldier, but she was a scientist, an explorer, and now, a guardian of a new form of life that might just hold the key to defeating an ancient evil. What do we do? She asked, looking up at Elara. The Zirani leader's face was set in grim determination. We fight, Sarah Chen. We fight for our future, for our child, for all life in this galaxy. And may the stars have mercy on those who stand against us. As they rushed out to face the coming storm, Sarah felt a strange calm settle over her. Whatever happened next, she knew she was exactly where she needed to be, standing alongside the Zirani, ready to face the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. The battle for the future of two species was about to begin, and Sarah Chen, once a simple explorer from Earth, now found herself at the very heart of a conflict that would shape the destiny of the galaxy. Echoes of eternity. The skies above the Zirani forest erupted in chaos as the first wave of the Void Horde descended upon the planet. Sarah Chen stood alongside Elara and the Zirani warriors, her heart pounding as she witnessed the terrifying spectacle unfolding before her. The Void Horde ships were unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, vast, organic-looking vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with an eerie fluidity, more like living creatures than machines. As they breached the atmosphere, the air itself seemed to crackle with malevolent energy. By the eternal stars, Elara breathed, her voice a mix of awe and dread. They've evolved since our last encounter. Sarah glanced up at the towering Zirani leader. Evolved? You mean they're not just technologically advanced, but biologically as well? Elara nodded grimly. The Void Horde is a collective consciousness, Sarah. Every battle, every world they consume, adds to their knowledge and power. They are the antithesis of everything we stand for, destroyers of life, devourers of diversity. As the first Void Horde troops began to land, Sarah's scientific curiosity warred with her fear. The enemy soldiers were grotesque amalgamations of organic and mechanical parts, their bodies twisting and reshaping as they adapted to the planet's environment in real time. Fall back to the sacred grove. Ilara's voice boomed across the battlefield. Protect the child at all costs. Sarah found herself swept up in the retreat, her shorter legs struggling to keep pace with the giant strides of the Zirani. As they ran, she saw Zirani warriors engaging the Void Horde troops, wielding weapons that crackled with energy and seemed to manipulate the very fabric of space-time. They reached the sacred grove, a hidden valley deep in the heart of the forest where the hybrid child was being nurtured. At its center stood an enormous tree, its trunk hollowed out and filled with advanced biotechnology. Within this living incubator, the future of both their species continued to grow and evolve. Dr. Zira met them at the entrance, her face etched with worry. The child's development has accelerated dramatically, she reported. It's as if it senses the danger and is trying to prepare itself. Sarah rushed to the monitoring station, her eyes widening as she took in the data. This is incredible, she muttered, fingers flying across the holographic displays. The hybrid's neural network is reconfiguring itself, creating entirely new synaptic pathways. It's learning, adapting. A massive explosion rocked the grove, sending showers of leaves and debris raining down upon them. Ilara stepped forward, her massive form silhouetted against the chaos outside. We cannot hold them off forever, she said, her voice heavy with the weight of command. Sarah, Dr. Zira, you must complete the final stage of the child's development. It may be our only hope. Sarah's mind raced. The final stage was theoretical, untested, a desperate gambit that merged Zirani biotechnology with principles of quantum entanglement that she had helped develop. If it worked, it could give their hybrid child powers beyond imagination. If it failed, we don't have a choice, Sarah said, squaring her shoulders. Let's do it. As Ilara and the other warriors fought to hold back the Void Horde, Sarah and Dr. Zero worked feverishly. They interfaced the incubation chamber with salvaged parts from Sarah's crashed ship, creating a jury-rigged quantum accelerator that hummed with barely contained energy. Now, Sarah, Dr. Zira called out as the battle raged ever closer. Sarah took a deep breath and activated the device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself appeared to bend around the incubation chamber. The hybrid child within began to glow with an inner light that grew brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at directly. Suddenly, everything went silent. The sounds of battle, the hum of machinery, all of it faded away. In that moment of absolute stillness, Sarah felt a presence brush against her mind, ancient, wise, and yet newborn. The hybrid child had awakened. The incubation chamber burst open in a flash of radiant energy. From within emerged a figure that defied description, neither fully Zirani nor human, but something gloriously, impossibly new. It stood tall, though not as gigantic as the Zirani, its body shimmering with patterns of light that shifted and changed like living fractals. The hybrid adult, turned its gaze upon Sarah. Its eyes were swerving galaxies, deep and eternal. When it spoke, its voice resonated not just in the air, but in the very atoms of everything around them. Mother, it said to Sarah, the single word carrying layers of emotion and meaning beyond human comprehension. Then, turning to Dr. Zira and the Zirani, mothers, I am all of you and I am myself. I am the bridge between worlds, the guardian of life's infinite diversity. Before anyone could respond, the hybrid beings strode out of the sacred grove. Sarah and the others followed, emerging onto a battlefield frozen in time. The Void Horde troops hung suspended in mid-action, their twisted forms caught between moments. The hybrid raised its hands, and reality rippled. The Void Horde ships in the sky above began to warp and twist, their structures unraveling as if they were no more substantial than smoke in the wind. "You who seek to devour life," the hybrid's voice rang out across the planet, across space itself, "you have forgotten the truth of existence. All things are connected. All life is one." As it spoke, waves of energy pulsed outward. Where they touched the Void Horde, transformation followed. Grotesque forms softened, mechanical parts fell away, and in their place stood beings of pure light, diverse, beautiful, and free from the collective consciousness that had enslaved them. Sarah watched in awe as the hybrid child she had helped create rewrote the laws of physics, undoing eons of destruction in a matter of moments. Beside her, Ilara fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "It's more than we ever dreamed possible," the Zerani leader whispered. As the last of the Void Horde ships dissipated into streams of radiant energy, the hybrid turned back to face them. Its form was changing, shifting, as if it was having trouble maintaining a single shape in the face of infinite possibility. "The threat is ended," it said, its voice somehow both distant and intimately close. "But my work is just beginning. There are wounds in the fabric of space and time, echoes of destruction that must be healed." Sarah stepped forward, her heart aching with a mother's love and a scientist's boundless curiosity. Will you come back to us?" The hybrid smiled, and in that smile, Sarah saw reflections of herself, of Ilara, of all the beings whose genetic legacy had contributed to this miraculous creation. "I am always with you," it said. "In the bonds between atoms, in the space between stars. I am the child of two worlds, and now I must become the guardian of all worlds." With those words, the hybrid being began to fade from view, its form dissolving into motes of light that danced on the wind. As it disappeared, Sarah felt its consciousness brush against her mind one last time, a touch filled with love, gratitude, and the promise of a future brighter than any she could have imagined. As the glow faded, Sarah found herself standing amidst a transformed landscape. The forest around them was more vibrant than ever, pulsing with newfound life. Where Void Horde troops had stood, new forms of plant and animal life were taking root, as if the hybrid's power had jump-started millions of years of evolution in an instant. Ilara placed a gentle hand on Sarah's shoulder. "It seems," the Zerani leader said softly, "that our child has given us more than just the salvation of our people. It has given the entire universe a second chance." Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. She had come to this world as an explorer, seeking new life among the stars. Instead, she had become part of creating a new form of life, one that transcended the boundaries of species and space itself. As the Zerani began to celebrate around her, Sarah's gaze turned to the sky. Somewhere out there, her hybrid child was rewriting the story of the cosmos. And here, on this once threatened world, a new chapter was beginning, one of unity, of growth, and of infinite possibility. "What now?" Sarah asked, looking up at Ilara. The Zerani leader smiled, her eyes shining with the light of new stars being born. "Now, Saracen of Earth, we rebuild. We learn, we grow. And we prepare for the day when our child returns to share with us the wonders it has seen." As the twin suns of the Zerani world began to set, painting the sky in hues of gold and purple, Sarah felt a profound sense of peace settle over her. She had found her place in the universe, bridging the gap between worlds, between species. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, Zerani and human, united in their quest to nurture the spark of life wherever it might be found. The stars above twinkled with new promise, and Sarah Chen, once a lone explorer, now a mother to the cosmos, smiled up at them. Her greatest adventure, she realized, was only just beginning. Cosmic Renaissance. As the dust settled on the transformed Zerani world, a new era dawned, one that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. Sarah Chen, once a solitary explorer from Earth, now found herself at the epicenter of a cosmic renaissance that would echo across the stars for millennia to come. The hybrid being's departure had left an indelible mark on the planet and its inhabitants. The Zirani, their near extinction averted, experienced a surge of evolutionary changes. Their already impressive abilities were enhanced. Their connection to the natural world deepened to near mystical levels. Sarah watched in awe as her giant friends developed the ability to communicate with plants, to shape living matter with a mere thought, and to perceive the intricate web of life that connected all things. But the changes weren't limited to the Zirani. Sarah herself began to notice subtle shifts in her own biology. Her mind expanded, allowing her to process information at unprecedented speeds. She found she could intuitively understand complex scientific concepts that had once taken years of study to grasp. Most surprisingly, she developed a form of limited telepathy, allowing her to share thoughts and emotions with the Zirani without speaking. "It seems our child left us with more than just memories," Elara mused one day as they stood atop a newly grown crystal spire that served as both a communication hub and a center of learning. The structure hummed with bioorganic technology, a seamless blend of nature and science that epitomized their new society. Sarah nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon where similar spires were sprouting up across the landscape. "It's as if the entire planet is evolving, adapting to a new purpose." And indeed it was. In the weeks following the Void Horde's defeat, the Zirani world had become a beacon in the cosmos. The energy released by the hybrid being had rippled across space-time, drawing the attention of countless alien civilizations. Soon, the skies above were filled with ships of all shapes and sizes, carrying curious and hopeful visitors from across the galaxy. The Zirani, once isolated and on the brink of extinction, now found themselves hosts to a grand interstellar conference. Representatives from thousands of worlds descended upon the planet, eager to learn about the miraculous transformation and the new technologies and philosophies emerging in its wake. Sarah, with her unique perspective as both an outsider and a key figure in recent events, became an invaluable intermediary. Her days were filled with diplomatic meetings, scientific exchanges, and cultural demonstrations. She marveled at the diversity of life that gathered around her, crystalline beings that communicated through light, gaseous entities that shifted form with each passing thought, and creatures so strange she could barely comprehend their existence. One particularly memorable encounter was with the Quantum Collective, a species of interdimensional beings that existed simultaneously across multiple realities. Their ambassador, a shimmering fractal entity named Zix, approached Sarah with a proposition. "We have observed the birth of your hybrid child," Zix communicated, their thoughts resonating directly in Sarah's mind. "Its actions have sent ripples through the multiverse, opening doorways long thought sealed. We propose an exchange of knowledge to explore these new frontiers together." Sarah's scientific curiosity was piqued. "What kind of knowledge are we talking about?" Zix's form sparkled with excitement. "Imagine technologies that could allow travel not just between stars, but between dimensions. Cosmic engineering on a scale that could reshape entire galaxies. The power to tap into the fundamental forces of creation itself." The implications were staggering. Sarah glanced at Elara, who nodded encouragingly. "We would be honored to collaborate," Sarah replied, her mind already racing with the possibilities. As news of this collaboration spread, more and more species came forward with their own proposals. The Zirani world was rapidly becoming a nexus of interstellar cooperation and advancement. Massive research facilities sprung up alongside the crystal spires, each dedicated to solving the galaxy's greatest challenges. In one such facility, Sarah worked alongside beings from a dozen different worlds to develop a revolutionary form of faster-than-light travel. By harnessing the quantum entanglement principles demonstrated by the hybrid being, they theorized they could create a network of instantaneous transportation nodes across the galaxy. "Just think," Sarah mused to her team as they pored over holographic schematics. "With this technology, we could unite the galaxy in ways never before possible. No world would be too distant, no civilization too isolated." But it wasn't all smooth sailing. As with any great paradigm shift, there were those who resisted the changes sweeping across the stars. Some species, fearful of losing their autonomy or cultural identity, withdrew from galactic affairs. Others, seeing the advancements being made, sought to steal or replicate the new technologies for their own gain. Sarah found herself not just a scientist and diplomat, but also a guardian of the new order that was emerging. She worked tirelessly with Ilara and other galactic leaders to establish a framework for sharing knowledge responsibly, ensuring that the power they were unlocking wouldn't fall into the wrong hands or be used for destructive purposes. It was during one such negotiation that a message arrived, a signal from deep space carrying a familiar energy signature. The hybrid being, their cosmic child, was reaching out. The message was complex, layered with information that took weeks to fully decode, but its essence was clear. The hybrid had been traversing the cosmos, healing rifts in space-time left by eons of conflict. It spoke of wonders beyond imagination, of ancient mysteries unraveled and new forms of life discovered in the farthest reaches of the universe. But it also carried a warning. The hybrid had sensed a disturbance, a darkness gathering at the edges of known space. Something old was awakening, something that made the void horde pale in comparison. As Sarah stood with Ilara and the assembled galactic representatives, listening to the hybrid's message, she felt a mix of pride, awe, and trepidation. Their child had grown beyond anything they could have imagined, becoming a cosmic force in its own right. But now it was calling upon them, upon all life in the galaxy, to prepare for a challenge that would test their newfound unity. "We've come so far," Sarah said, addressing the assembly. Her voice, amplified by the Crystal Spire's technology, reached every corner of the planet and was broadcasted to worlds across the galaxy. "We've overcome division. We've pushed the boundaries of science and understanding. Now, we face a threat not just to our individual species, but to the very concept of life itself." She paused, looking out at the sea of diverse faces, some humanoid, some utterly alien, all united in this moment. But we don't face it alone. We stand together, a galactic community forged in cooperation and hope. And out there, among the stars, we have a guardian, a child of two worlds who has become a protector of all worlds. Ilara stepped forward, her towering form radiating strength and determination. "The path ahead will not be easy," the Zirani leader added. "But together, there is no challenge we cannot overcome, no darkness we cannot push back." As murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, Sarah felt a surge of determination. This was why she had become an explorer, why she had chosen to stay on this alien world. Not just to discover new life, but to forge connections, to be part of something greater than herself. The twin suns of the Zirani world began to set, casting long shadows across the assembled beings. But rather than darkness, the approaching night brought a spectacular display of cosmic light. The sky lit up with swerving nebulae and newborn stars, a reminder of the vast, beautiful universe they were all part of. Sarah Chen, once a lone human on an alien world, now stood as a bridge between species, a mother to a cosmic being, and a key figure in the greatest alliance the galaxy had ever known. As she gazed up at the star-strewn sky, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them united. The next chapter of their cosmic journey was about to begin, and the entire universe waited with bated breath to see what wonders and dangers it would bring. The hybrid's warning echoed in her mind, a call to action that would reshape the fate of countless worlds. And as the first stars of evening began to twinkle, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The greatest adventure of all was just beginning.